to know?
Equilateral triangle. Isosceles triangle. Right triangle. Scalene triangle. Acute triangle.
Okay, this may be review for you. What is an equilateral triangle? Hadley? Yes, it is a triangle, has all sides that are equal, and what you notice is equilateral triangle has the word equal in it. An equilateral triangle has all sides equal.
Isosceles triangle.
What do you know about the sides of an isosceles triangle? Dylan? One side is different, but the way we usually classify it is by saying we have two sides that are equal. Here and here. With an isosceles, there are two sides equal. What about scalene?
Scalene triangle.
Abby?
None of the sides are the same.
No sides are the same. No sides are equal. A right triangle is called a right triangle. Why? Emily? Because it has a right angle. An acute triangle is called acute because, why? Ellie? Yes, it has an acute angle. And there's also an obtuse triangle that has an obtuse angle.
How can you classify triangles? Think about this question during the lesson. Triangles can be classified by the length of their sides. This is an equilateral triangle. All sides are the same length. This is an isosceles triangle. Two sides are the same length. This is a scalene triangle. No sides are the same length. Is there a way of remembering that an equilateral triangle has three sides of equal length?
What did we say, Abby? Because it has the word equal in it.
Yes, the prefix equa looks like the word equal, which means the same length. Is an equilateral triangle also an isosceles triangle?
Oh, sorry.
Can it be both?
Yes, the equilateral triangle is also an isosceles triangle because two sides are the same length.
In order to be an isosceles, it has to have at least two sides equal. An equilateral, all three sides are the equal length, so it's an equilateral triangle, but it's also an isosceles triangle. Okay?
Is an isosceles triangle always an equilateral triangle?
Desiree?
I was gonna ask.
Mhm.
What happened if on a test it says what kind of triangle is this, and it's like isosceles? It's like the same way. Would we put isosceles, or could we also put like equilateral too?
If it has all three sides the same, then you definitely want to say that it's an equilateral triangle.
You would go with the one that's most specific to
Yes.
that triangle.
So if it's like turned like that, then it's
Even if it's turned, it doesn't matter. If it has three sides the same, then call it an equilateral triangle.
so isosceles and equilateral triangle or the same. So what would you?
Okay. Equilateral triangle has 1, 2, 3 equal sides. So that's why it's called equilateral. An isosceles triangle has to have at least 2 equal sides. So this is isosceles because it has 2 equal sides, here and here. Now this one has more than 2 equal sides. It has all sides equal. So we call it equilateral, but it can also be an isosceles triangle because it has more than 2 equal sides. It has 3. But if you saw a picture of this triangle, this orange one on the test, and they want to know what type of triangle that is, you want to say it is an equilateral triangle because all sides are equal.
But if there's one like equilateral but turned like.
Even if it's turned a little crooked or something. Yes, if this, just because this one is turned this way, if this long pointy end were up here, if it has only 2 equal sides, it's still isosceles, no matter how it's turned.
Okay.
Okay, no matter how it's turned. So is an isosceles triangle always going to be equilateral? Yes or no?
No.
No, Brendan, why not? Yeah, it may only have 2 equal sides. It may have 3, but it may only have 2.
No, an isosceles triangle is not always an equilateral triangle because it could have only 2 sides the same length, not all 3 sides. Triangles can also be classified by the measures of their angles. This is a right triangle. One angle is a right angle, which measures 90 degrees. The right angle is marked with a special symbol. This is an acute triangle. All 3 angles are acute angles, which are angles under 90 degrees. The word acute means sharp or pointed, just like the sharp points formed by the angles of this triangle. This is an obtuse triangle. One angle is an obtuse angle. Obtuse means not sharp or pointed, as shown by the angle that is greater than 90 degrees.
Do you all see that this right here, this angle right here is obtuse? It is greater than 90 degrees. Do you see that 90 degrees would be straight up? This is greater than that, so it's an obtuse triangle.
How can you remember that right, acute, and obtuse triangles are classified by angles and not by side length? The names of the triangles describe the types of angles. How do you know that a triangle has a right angle?
How would you know? Ellie?
You could make like a little square and the two lines that make
Mhm.
the right angle,
Mhm.
and make a little square.
That little square. Eli? Right. Usually, they may have that box right there to let you know this is a 90-degree angle. But if it's not marked and you're not sure, you need to get out a protractor and measure that angle. Don't just assume that it's going to be 90 degrees, okay?
The right angle symbol is shown in one of the angles. Why can an obtuse triangle not have more than one obtuse angle?
Does anyone, well, hold on.
The measure of an obtuse angle is more than 90 degrees, so the combined measure of 2 obtuse angles would be more than 180 degrees.
Why is this number 180 degrees significant? Do you know what's important about that number? That's kind of what I was going to ask before. Abby?
180 degrees is a straight angle.
Okay, that is the degree measure of a straight angle, you're right. But why is it important to a triangle? Does anyone know? Okay, you'll need to know this because you'll need to know it for the lesson today. So if you're taking notes, you need to put this down. When you add up all the angles of a triangle, you should get 180 degrees. So that means when you add whatever this angle is, and this angle, and this angle, when you measure how many degrees each one is, and you add them up, you should get 180. A triangle equals 180 degrees, always. No matter if it's a little triangle or a big triangle. All the angles of a triangle add to equal 180 degrees. Okay?
Now you know how to classify triangles based on the length of their sides and the measure of the angles.
All right, so I want us to work out one of those together where, okay, but first let's look at this. So classify the triangle by its sides and then by its angles. So when we're classifying a triangle by its sides, what type of triangles are there? There are three. It could be but we want to do it by its sides. That means the length of its sides, not angles. So don't think about angles right now. Think about its sides. It could be what, Hadley? Equilateral. That's okay, that's okay. It could be equilateral, where all sides are equal. It could be isosceles, which means two sides are equal, or it could be scalene, which means none of them are equal. So let's take a look. When we look at its sides, we have one side that's 3 centimeters, one side that's 3 centimeters, and 3 centimeters. So that means all of them are equal. So this type of triangle is going to be, Paige, equilateral triangle. Very good. That's how we classify it by its sides. Now it says, and then by its angles. So let's look at its angles. It's telling us this one is 60 degrees, this one is 60 degrees, and this one is 60 degrees. Our book says on page 209, when you classify a triangle by its angles, it can be a right triangle, because that means it has a right angle. It can be an acute triangle, which means all of the angles are acute, or it can be an obtuse triangle, which means it has one angle that's obtuse. Are any of these angles obtuse? 60, 60, 60. No. Are any of them right? No. So, each of them are acute, so that means this type of triangle is an acute triangle. Now, let's get back to what we said a minute ago. We said all the angles of a triangle must add to equal how many degrees? 180. So if I take this angle right here, that is 60, and this angle here, that is 60, and this angle here, that is 60, and I add them, I get 180 degrees. So, if they did not give me this angle measurement right here, if that was just a question mark, and I knew this angle and this angle, would I be able to figure out this missing angle? Yes. If you have two angle measurements, you have enough information to figure out what the missing angle must be. You add together the two angles that you have, and then what do I do with this number to figure out what this is? You guys, Abby and Hadley aren't the only ones in here. Let's focus. This is something you should be able to do. If we have two angles, we need to figure out what this is. We know that our sum, when you add it up, has to be 180. That's a rule, always.
Equal that total. The total measurement of the triangle's angles has to be 180. You need to reach that total. So what would you do?
And we figured out that this one plus this one is 120. What am I going to do now? What is my next step? Kaden? Not 120 minus 60. I don't know what this is. Austin?
You see how many to get to 180.
I can see how many it's going to take from 120 to get to 180. Or I can just take 180, which is what it has to be, minus what we have so far, 120, and it's going to tell me what my missing angle measure is. Okay? So you add up the two that you have, and you subtract that sum from 180 to get your missing angle. And there will be some like that. Okay, I want you to get out a sticky note right now and classify this. You have to classify it by its sides and its angles. Sides and angles.
So when you classify by side, you're using one of these three terms. Classify by angles, you're going to use one of these. So you might have